You know, in Kenya, we love a good grass to grace story. We love the idea of someone coming from absolutely nothing and rising to the top through pure grit and hustle. And for the longest time, one of the celebrities who's been the face of that narrative is one Esther Akothee, aka Akothee. The girl who went through fire in her teenage, survived early motherhood, divorce, tough hustles, and somehow fought her way into becoming one of the most wealthy celebrities in the country. But here's the plot twist a lot of people don't know. Akothee's upbringing was never marred with any struggles at all. In fact, she grew up in a family that many would consider royal by the standards of the 80s and 90s. Her father was not just any man. He was one of the few Kenyans who got the rare chance to study abroad in the 1970s, courtesy of the airlift program. He later came back home and even served as a district officer under the Moi administration. That alone placed him among the elite of that era. And Akothee's mother, she was a respected primary school teacher who later joined politics and even served as an MCA under the 2010 constitution.
I'm coming from a very good background. As you can see, my dad went to school in Russia. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a DO who was also employed by Nelly York's father.
At that time. And DOs,
yes,
during the Moi government, DOs were very powerful people.
So if you didn't know, Akothee actually started life on a very comfortable end, but the comfort did not last for her personally. And I'll tell you why. Akothee has occasionally admitted that her misfortunes were largely self-inflicted. She says she was a stubborn teenager, a girl in love, rebellious, and ready to throw it all away for her high school sweetheart. And that is exactly what she did. She ran away from home, got pregnant at the age of 14, and by the time she was 20, she was already divorced with 3 daughters and forced to hustle her way through life.
I ran away from home. Okay. I thought there's something better the world could offer me. I was a rebel teenager.
That is how the daughter of a respected government official ended up doing menial jobs, like being a dancer for the Limpopo International Band, which was owned by the late Musa Juma, and also driving taxis in Mombasa just to fend for her daughters. And the funny thing is, that mess, the one she created herself, is what shaped the Akothee we know today. Eventually, she rebuilt everything and became the Madam Boss many admire today. As we speak, her parents are still living comfortably, but now under her watch. Her mother, for instance, is a known politician in Migori County, having served for 2 consecutive terms as an MCA for North Sako Ward. And that was from the year 2013 to the year 2022. Now, let's turn to yet another celebrity who equally benefited from having a parent who held a senior position in the Moi government. Ladies and gentlemen, Willis Raburu. A lot of people know him as the lively media personality, the fun guy on screen, the gengeton musician, and generally a bubbly individual. But I'd bet that not so many are aware of his background. Willis Raburu comes from one of the most powerful homes of the Nyayo era. His father, Peter Raburu, served as a provincial commissioner for the longest time. And if you know the old constitution, then you know Apisi was one of the most powerful people in Kenya. Forget the governors we have today. A provincial commissioner was in charge of an entire region. They answered straight to the president. Willis has even joked that President Moi once called his dad, and he ended up picking that call.
How we had a red phone where the president would call directly, and I've actually spoke to Moi on phone.
You spoke to Moi on phone?
Yeah. So it rang, and I'm like, Simu, and it then I go and pick up the phone. And then I say, hello? You know, because it's a young kid.
Yeah.
Then Moi goes, is the PC in? And I say, no, he's not there. And then he says, akirudi mwambie Moi alipiga.
You told him Moi alipiga.
Mwambie Moi alipiga. Then I hang up.
So you can see, Willis was raised in a home of power and pure influence. But to his credit, he says his father's connections never played a role at all at him getting his media job. Willis says by the time his dad even realized he had switched his course from IT to media, he was already working at Citizen TV.
Anybody who met me and I was with my dad, like, this is my son Willis, and he's studying IT. This is my son Willis, he's studying IT. But lo and behold, graduation day, pale ya watu wa IT ilikuwa pale. Akakuja hivi tunakaa hapa, I said, no, piga left, naenda pale kwa media. Akasema, what? Then my mom said, so utakasirika na mtoto ana graduate. Unajua mtoto alikuwa ameanza kuleta nini? Then we were like, and then luckily for me at that time,
Like 24, 25. I'm assuming.
Yes, and luckily for me at that time, I had already got the job at Citizen.
Okay.
Willis Raburu has been in the media industry for close to 15 years, winning multiple awards and also creating a legacy for himself. Now, the next story on the line will be news to so many people. I'm betting on that one. Let's talk about Khaligraph Jones, the OG from Kayole. The man who built his brand on pure grit, get authenticity, and beating all the odds to become the top rapper he is today.
Khaligraph.
And yes, his rise from Kayole is true, but there's a chapter of his life that most people don't know existed before the Kayole story. Khaligraph's family wasn't always poor from the beginning. OG actually came from a very comfortable background.
We were not poor all our lives, yani, since the beginning, unaona. Mzee alikuwa amekafunganga idha fulani.
His father was a hall manager at a clearing and forwarding company, and at the peak of their wealth, Khaligraph says their compound had up to 12 cars, all to his father's name.
Mzee wangu alikuwa gari kama 12. Hapo nje ya parking, yani unajua na hiyo ni kitu kama 2000, the year 2000. Si kama saa hizi venye kila mtu sasa anaweza imrenga. Mzee alikuwa ameseti moti 12 in 2000 hapo. Hiyo area koma alikuwa anatuna mbaya sana yani. So mzee alikuwa ameset.
So how did such a family end up in Kayole? The answer is diabetes. Khaligraph's father, Omolo Sr., got seriously ill after a long struggle with diabetes and couldn't work for almost 2 years. He had to be laid off at work. The family burned through their savings and assets. They began selling off cars, properties, and just trying to stay afloat. Eventually, they had to relocate to Kayole after exhausting everything, and that became their new reality. And ironically, that struggle is what shaped the Khaligraph we know today. Everyone knows him as that superstar who rose from the ghettos of Kayole. He never mentions how he was once a rich kid, by the way. His career was purely inspired by the Kayole lifestyle, which was actually a result of his father's downfall. Anyway, the story still ended beautifully. I mean, Khaligraph is currently doing well in life, owning one of the most admired homes among Kenyan celebrities. Life really knows how and when to flip the script. And our next story is somehow similar to that experience that Khaligraph underwent. And this is all about Bien Aime Baraza. People know Bien as that outspoken superstar, the guy who grew up speaking good English, attended good schools, and generally had a comfortable lifestyle. Well, Bien grew up in Kilimani. If even today, Kilimani is known to be for the well-to-do. So imagine what it was like living there in the 90s. Bien's father apparently worked with a major NGO, earning well and running a huge family consisting of 6 wives and 10 children. In the 90s, that was definitely a kind of household where money was loud. And by the way, former Deputy Chief Justice Nancy Baraza was the first Kenyan female Deputy Chief Justice. Is also among the 6 wives. But then, wealth sometimes disappears faster than it comes. At some point, Ben reveals that his dad lost his lucrative job. The family fell hard, literally having to start from scratch.
Nini happen a job?
Kazi ilisha tu, kazi inaishanga. Life will shift, manze.
Yeah, najua
permanent. Manze. Ndio sababu yani I try as much as possible just to be a good person to people. Because manze, life can change. Yeah, one day you can be at the top and the next day you're somewhere else.
You're somewhere.
Ben recalled being forced to move into a house with no ceiling boards, using lanterns at night, and basically shifting from privilege to survival mode.
Hiyo kwa experience, hiyo shift ya mapero wangu kusota, yani kuhamia kwa nyumba ina stima, kula githeri daily for karibu 5 years. Hiyo ndio ili shape to the kind of person I am today. Ili shape fears zangu, ili shape mind yangu.
That, he says, was the kind of fall that humbled him. But the beauty of this is that during that transition is when Bien joined Upper Hill School, where he met his future bandmates of the Sauti Sol, and they would later establish the Sauti Sol music group, which entirely restored the glory of Bien and the entire Baraza family. And finally, let's talk about the one story everyone thinks they already know, and that's the story of rapper Kahush. In the year 2020, during the height of the COVID-19 lockdown, you'd turn on the TV and almost every day, you'd see this one man, Mutahi Kagwe, the health cabinet secretary at that time, giving those now iconic COVID-19 briefings.
Makadara has 9, Westlands has 8, Embakasi Central has 6.
At that same moment, his son Kahush was also blowing up online with his hit song Mastingo.
Just my
Two members of the same family trending nationwide, but for completely different reasons. Kenyans were fascinated. But long before all that hype, the Kagwe family was already influential. By 2020, when most Kenyans knew about the family, Mutahi Kagwe was already a seasoned politician. He had served as the MP for Mukurweini constituency for 5 years, later as a senator for Nyeri County, and then by 2020, he was serving as a cabinet secretary for health under the Jubilee government. And the greatness of the Kagwe family doesn't end there. The mother to Kahush, Anne Wanjiku, is the daughter of the late John Mishuki, who is one of the most prominent and powerful cabinet secretaries in the history of Kenya. So yes, Kahush grew up surrounded by privilege and so much influence. Interestingly, the music that made him go viral was something he treated more as a hobby. He holds a degree in international relations from the UK, and he had also been actively involved in football at some point of his life. Listen to this. Kahush once played at a competitive youth level, representing Harambee Stars in the under-17 setups.
You were in the national team?
Yeah.
The under what?
I was under 17.
Kenya national team.
Yeah.
Damn.
Nice.
And then
I was telling you, I was really doing it. Like,
However, it seems he gave up his football hobby for other priorities. Today, Kahush continues to make the kind of music that appeals to his audience, and not because his survival depends on them more, but just out of pure passion.